So the first thing I did to make the background is take a photo of the cockpit. So as far back in the seat as I could, took a picture, just something to get the glare shields in, the main shape of it. You don't have to worry about a canopy bow if you've got it, or even the HUD frame, because we'll be using the HUD frame and the glass that's in the game. So there's lots of tutorials on YouTube about how to get your background image. Some of them are going to be much better than this, using free software. I use Photoshop pretty much daily, so this is what I used. This is how I did it. Again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. This is just how I did it and how it worked for me. So the first thing I did, we'll just get rid of that because that's one that I set up earlier, is open up the picture, drag down to create a new layer, turn off the original one, and then selected pen tool, over to paths. Again, there's one I created earlier, get rid of that. New path, doesn't matter about the name, and then basically zoomed in. I'm not going to do this as accurate as I did it originally for speed of the video, but started somewhere down here and just clicked, just clicked and drew the outline. So you can zoom all the way in and get it really neat if you want to spend the time on it. Obviously, the longer you spend on it, the better it's going to be. I did spend a lot of time doing mine, but basically to show you how it's done, we'll just click roughly where it's going to go. Come off the bottom, back in again. Right click, make selection, 1 pixel, gives it a little bit of a feathered edge. Press OK, and then Control X to cut. New file, paste that in, and there's your outline. Now again, if you're taking your time over it, it's going to look much better than this. Back in the layers, select Paint Bucket tool, choose your color, and the color has to be, for this to work properly with Virtual Desktop on the RGB, 2550-255. And if you use that and you use that same setting in Virtual Desktop, whatever shows as pink here will disappear in the game. So click, it'll go pink, it won't look very good. And then I spent quite a bit of time with the paintbrush tool, just basically getting rid of everything and getting it as smooth as I could. You can obviously right click, make the pen smaller, and get it as good as you want. But for this tutorial, it's just going to show you the rough way to do it. So once you've spent a bit of time on doing that, you will eventually get something like this, a little bit neater. You need to make sure that if the background is there, turn the background off. So you've got the little checkered bit, and that's basically going to be your transparent file, a PNG. So File, Save a Copy. I've already got one in there. But basically, where you need to store this can be anywhere you want. I've got all of my project files all in my Mark II Hornet project folder, OpenKneeboard, and I just saved that one as dash, so I'm not going to overwrite that. The other one is the base, and that is literally a rectangle. It's not very big. It is 962 pixels wide. It's something like around about 1,000 pixels wide. By as long as you want, you'll find that you can stretch it, shrink it, tilt it in OpenKneeboard. So it's not, for me, it wasn't really relevant. It was just make a long pink thin rectangle at the correct color of the 2550-255. So once you've got that, you've got both your files saved. then we need to get them into OpenKneeboard. So once you've got those 2 files saved, doesn't matter where you've saved them, what you want to do is copy those to your Kneeboard folder, which is normally in your saved games. So that's, if you've never been to saved games before, it's normally the main drive of your PC, users, whatever your name is, save games, DCS, Kneeboard, and I've already got my 2 in there, but we'll just go for it again. C drive, users, whatever your username is, save games, DCS, Kneeboard, F18C folder. Actually, if you haven't got the F18 folder, you need to create a folder for DCS to know which airframe you're using. So mine is obviously FA_18C. Yours could be the A10, the F14, whatever it is. You need to make sure that you've created that folder first, so DCS knows that's the Kneeboard to use for the particular airframe once it's running. So within that folder, paste those files into there, base and dash, whatever you've called them, and then that will then be in there to run for OpenKneeboard. So once you've got OpenKneeboard installed, and again, there's loads of videos that show you how to install it, open up OpenKneeboard, and the first thing I did was went to tabs and added a tab, files, 1 per tab, and I went to the folder where I'd saved the pictures and I saved one of them, my dashboard. Then I opened another tab and saved the base. So you end up with both of them in that folder there. Back into the settings. Here are the settings I use. So again, I'm not 100% sure how these work. Some people will be able to tell me completely different. I'm doing it wrong, but these are the ones that worked with me. I opened up 2 Kneeboards. One of them selected base, the other one selected dash, so that you end up with both of them there. They're both enabled in VR. And then the sizes you have to play around with once you're in the game. So leave that for the moment while you're just putting the pictures in there. You bring these up in VR and you play around with the settings until it all works. The next important thing I did, I think, was bindings. So I've got the Thrustmaster Warthog base with an F18 grip. On the F18, you've got the recce button in the middle. That's the button I use to center VR in my DCS settings, which basically moves your VR headset around to line up with the jet. What I did was go down to the same joystick, and the recenter VR button for here in these settings is the recenter for the pink screen rather than the VR. So I bound that on the Thrustmaster F18 grip. There's a little button just to the left of the recce button, which I don't think is actually on the F18 grip, and I bound it to that. The reason I did that is that you can use that button to move your pink screen around to line up with your real world cockpit before you start. Once you're in the jet, you can then use the normal VR button to center the screen in VR exactly where you want to be. So both of them will line up. You've got 2 buttons next to each other. Click, 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 move your head, click, click, click. And that's the best way that I did it. The only other setting I think I set was the space bar, which not there. There it is. It's under keyboard. So show hide space bar. So basically, you can just press the space bar. You'll see the DCS version of the Hornet. Press the space bar. You'll see your real version of it. So that's basically all the settings to do offline that I can remember. Everything else, header, footer, leave left on. Opacity was completely all the way up. Right, next. So I think one of the most common questions, comments that I got when I uploaded the video was, how do you export your MFDs, so basically your screens that have got all the buttons around them, in VR? Because normally when you flip to VR mode, they don't work, they disappear. This was some code that I found from the Warthog project, who, if you haven't seen the Warthog project on YouTube, go and have a look at that. It's building an A10 Warthog. It's incredible. I mean, it is just dreams. I mean, I saw the videos a few years back before I started my project, and it was just like, this is what I want, but an F18. And he's got some great videos on there, and one of them was showing how to export the MFDs. So basically, in your monitor config setting, now I assume this is the same for WinWing MFDs that have the screens. I haven't got those. I've got custom-made, homemade ones. I assume you still have to have the monitor set up to export those screens. So you've been in there, you've set up your left MFCD, your center MFCD, and set everything up so it works. Assuming that's the same, which I think it is, at the bottom of my config file, which is in C users, my name, save games, DCS, config, monitor setup, and then mine's called openhornet-mixed.lua. At the bottom, this piece of code here, and I'll put it in the description so you can just cut and paste it. The only thing I think that you'll need to do is the width and the height is, I've got that set to my main monitor, my main viewport. I set it exactly the same, width and height, 38402160. I set it exactly the same, and then the bit at the bottom allows the MFDs to then work in VR basically. So I'll paste that in the description, and you can cut and paste that and play around with it. Doing that hopefully will make your MFDs work in VR. This is Maverick. Hello, Mav. Hello, dude. It's my wingman. Not really that bothered. Mav, you going to say hi? No, just eating something you found on the floor. Okay, mate. Off you go. Bye, bye. Bye, bye, bye. Okay, so here we are sat in the jet with the MetaQuest 3 loaded up. You can see we're in pass-through. Please ignore the state of the man cave at the moment. So we're in the jet. Everything's up and running. Run virtual desktop. So in virtual desktop settings, once it opens up, you can hold the left button on the left controller to get this menu up. Streaming menu. These settings are basically for your PC. I mean, my PC is not that great, so set those how you want to. But the main thing we need to do through this is the VR pass-through. So environment ticked, everything else unticked, configure. This is the bit that you need to make sure is the same as the pink PNG that we made earlier. So red 255, green 0, blue 255. So your pass-through configuration is going to be this pink color, which is exactly the same pink color as the dashboard and the base that we made earlier, which means that's going to be like basically a green screen. We're going to see through it. The settings, you're going to need to play with them, but for me, similarity 41%, smoothness 2%, pass through 86, show boundary off. I found if I messed around with any of the other settings, either I could see my real monitor, which is there next to the jet shone through, or I got a pink outline round. It's not perfect how this all works. It's still a work in progress. It's still untested technology. Eventually it's going to be amazing. It's going to be the greatest thing ever, but at the moment this is how I got it as good as I think I can get it personally at the moment. So that is the virtual desktop settings. Before I started up the headset, I opened up DCS on the desktop. You've got to then, this was the bit that really confused me. I've no idea why DCS didn't have two buttons here, one for VR, one for desktop, but they've kind of hidden it. So you have to scroll over the button. You'll get a picture of VR, click on that. It now changes to a VR headset, and then launch DCS. Right, so here we are in DCS VR. Let's click instant action, ready on the ramp. Okay, so here we are in VR as we normally have it. If you press spacebar, because we've got OpenKneeboard running, we're very juddery because I think we've got so many things running at the same time. But basically, you press spacebar, there's cockpit. Looks rubbish. So what I normally do, you only technically have to do this once. Just press Alt F1, get rid of the jet completely. And as I said before, I've got the recce button stored, bound to sort out VR. But the one next to it, and you can set this to any button you want, is for the OpenKneeboard. So what I do is sit back and move, keep pressing it, press to move the OpenKneeboard. If I put it all the way over there, all the way over there, you can see it's moving. So I set that to where my physical cockpit is. That's probably about it. One thing I should say, it's very dark in here at the moment. I'm actually doing this at night. It's much better in the day. It's much better with lights coming in. If you can get lights behind you, get lights shining down onto what you've built, it's going to make it much better. So we've got that roughly where we want it. Alt F1 again to bring the jet back, and then use the VR, the virtual desktop, not the virtual desktop, the DCS VR center button to bring the jet back. I'll come off that side to show you. Bring the jet back to yours. And that's pretty much it. It's a little bit jittery. I think that's probably because I'm screen recording. I've got so many things running at the same time. You can see what the MFDs turning on. Oh, just in case anybody didn't realise this, so I've got the Cougar MFDs and I've got the Thrustmaster throttle. There's a fantastic download on the DCS website on the user file section to basically connect your MFDs into the game. So when your MFDs are really bright, using your instrument panel control, or in DCS how you normally do it, you can actually turn those up and down. You have to be quite slow with it because it can be a little bit panicky. I've actually got mine configured into the WinWing UFC as well, all off the same switch, and the console lights. I haven't finished building this side yet. This is my original Hornet build, which I built from the files by John Self, again on the DCS website, all downloadable, completely free. I had the whole thing. I then started again using the Open Hornet. But yeah, basically you can turn all the lights on, which I find is pretty cool. So that's basically it. That's how you get it all working. The more time you spend playing around with these things, the better it's going to be. Yeah, so there you go. Happy flying.